Hi guys, it's me again. Right now I'm going to be talking about Tom Ford brushes. Let's see, the camera is okay with the angle. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be looking at. Whether I'm supposed to be looking at the little green dot or I'm supposed to be looking at my forehead. I don't know. Anyways, so let me just get right into it. I just want to share just the handful of Tom Ford brushes that I have. These are I guess I have six. I have six pieces here. And first off, I mean, they're just gorgeous. They're so well made. I love that you can't really see it on camera right now, but it comes with a dark brown lacquered handle with the gold lettering there, and then the gold plated ferrule. And the weight is really good. It's like not too heavy, not too light. And then the most outstanding aspect of these, I feel, is the hairs. It's just super duper soft and just hardly has shed or nothing at all. Maybe at the very first wash there was a couple tiny little feathery pieces, but afterwards I've washed these, many times and they've been fine. So I'll just go one by one, and if I think of anything that are comparable in terms of the other brushes I have in my collection, I will point that out. The first is the largest one I have. It's Tom Ford number 6, which is I still have the box here too, the cheek brush. Here's the box. It's kind of hard to see, sorry. Looks like that is the box. It's also a dark, rich brown with gold lettering, and it says here, it's hard to see. I'm not a camera woman, but it says here '06 cheek brush, and that's, again, this is what that looks like. And see how wide, this is how wide it is. Try to keep an okay angle. That's the side, and then that's the it's facing the wide part right there, and then the head on its side. So it's super duper dense. I mean, you've already heard me say that it's very soft, but it's very, very packed with very high quality soft hairs. I want to call it fur because that's what it feels like. I'm petting like an animal or whatever, but a soft animal. So that's about, in terms of my cheek size, that's the size. So it fits right into the apples right there of the cheek, or right on top of your cheekbone. So that's, and compared to my nose, my eyes. But it's just so soft. There's no, even when I do this perpendicularly, it's not spiky or irritating at all. So I think these brushes, I mean, if they are within your budget and you're looking to invest in a set of brushes, these Tom Ford brushes are really great for sensitive skin or even dry skin or whatever, because it is so gentle on the skin. This one's a little bit dirty because I used it this morning with a little bit of cheek product, but these wash. Another great thing about the quality of these hairs is that they wash perfectly clean. After you use baby shampoo or whatever you use, it turns back to its original white state, which is which is neat because it looks very nice that way too. What else can I say? And let's see. I use this for my cheek products like my blushes, but I've also used it for just setting powder and also for bronzer. It's just multi-purpose, and you'll find that a lot of these Tom Ford brushes, they are multi-purpose, which is kind of neat. That's why he doesn't have, or this line doesn't have, 3 dozen different brushes for every little thing. It pretty much, by the way you turn it, whatever degrees, you'll be able to use it for different types of products and also different parts of your face. So that's the cheek brush again. There wasn't anything really that I wanted to bring out here in terms of my other brushes in my collection, because I think this is kind of standalone because it is so dense with very high quality hairs and so soft and so fluffy. There really wasn't anything comparable, at least not in my extensive brush collection, that I could think of as dupable or even to compare just the shape or size or whatever. So that's the cheek brush. And then the next one I have here is the Tom Ford brush in number 202. There's that there. Here's the front. So this is the cream foundation brush. Let me find the box. It's the cream foundation brush number 02, like I said. Here's the box. So it's a little bit obviously thinner than the cheek brush I just showed you. There's that. And then compared to the cheek brush, and then this is the cream foundation brush. So this looks like the little sister or little brother or the little mini me of this. So here's what that looks comparatively, like that on its side and then standing that way, as you can see, and then it is a little bit shorter as well. But in terms of overall size, like you can see from the brush head that it's pretty much the same shape, just smaller ratio proportion. Again, this too, like the cheek brush is pinched slightly, and this too is just it has just enough give. Like it's firm yet still retains its softness, and I think it's because of the fact that it has such high quality brushes packed in there together. Now this I did have something in my collection that was comparable in terms of just to discuss and to compare, is the Cover FX 160 brush. And that's what this looks like. Let me turn with the letter. So that's if you can see the brush head there, and then you can see what it looks like laying on its side and then perpendicular. This obviously has a silver barrel, but it's the same pinched ferrule at the top at the head. And I would say that this is actually, in terms of application of cream foundation, I've used this for cream foundation, even liquid foundation, and it's just a good buffing finishing tool. Even after, if you decide to use the beauty blender or whatever to apply your foundation, this is a great blurring of any lines that might still remain, you know, around here, or to soften the jawline. And I've also used this with like the cream bronzers, like the Chanel Bronze Universal. It's a really great product to use that for. Cheek, it's a beautiful cream blush applicator. Because it is so dense and yet so soft, it really does work the product to diffuse the color really, really nicely. I just really like that as well. Now, this is soft too, the Cover FX brush, and I had purchased this like several years ago, but it's very soft and also very dense. This did shed a little bit more, and even every time I wash it, a little bit of hair does come out. But in terms of how they work for their purpose of application, it's pretty similar. It's just this is a luxury product. It's nice. If this is softer, it is slightly more dense, slightly more fluffier than this. But if you were just looking to see to have a brush, you know, specifically for cream products, you know, either or, it pretty much functions the same. And I would say that actually, if you do look at the tops of the hairs, this one, the Cover FX, is a little bit more blunt at the top, whereas this is a little bit more rounder. So I've never actually used this for cream cheek products. I'm sure it's, you know, you can, but I do feel that because of this specific, very rounded shape, that this does work really well for creamy cheek or liquid blush application. So that's what that one looks like. And then let's see, the next brush is the number 13, which is basically an eye blender brush. Looks like that. I'll try to show you the number. It says 13. Hold on. There, 13. and it has the dome top. Again, same like with all of the other Tom Ford brushes, it definitely is high quality hairs. It hasn't shed, very soft, very dense, very full of the natural hair. I would say in terms of trying to compare it with any of my other brushes that I have, I brought out a couple because I know we all have a lot of different blending brushes, but I guess I have the Edward Best all-purpose blending brush, which looks like that. So I compare the brush sizes. In terms of performance on the eyelid, I would say that they work pretty similarly because the Edward Best is also very, very dense and soft. It's one of my most favorite brushes to use for blending out color and to create somewhat of a crease, especially for Asian eyes. It has obviously a wider or flatter top part, but this Edward Best is also very soft. I would say that obviously, as you can tell from here, the Tom Ford is skinnier or thinner. There's that. And then I also brought out my Sephora Professional Crease Brush. So this looks pretty similar, very similar actually to the Tom Ford, more than the Edward Best. I'm going to take Edward Best down. So there's that. I would say the Sephora Professional Crease Brush is less dense, not so much packed with the hairs, not as soft, and it has more of a floppy attribute, whereas this is definitely a little bit more firm. So not that that's necessarily bad, because sometimes you want more give to your hairs, but this is, I think, in my opinion, easier to kind of do that sweeping motion, whereas with this I kind of like it to really more of a concentrated blending of, let's say, different colors. But you know, it's very minimal difference, I think, though, in terms of what it looks like after application. So that's what those two look like. And then also, just to compare, I have the Hakuhodo J5533 brush, which is also very, very soft. All of these brushes made in Japan, it's just a different quality of hairs. But this, though, has the J5533 has more of a blunt cut top. Whereas both of these two, the Tom Ford and the Sephora, still maintaining more of a dome shape. And then this too is, because of the blunt top shape, it does cover a wider surface area of the crease, as you can see there. But in terms of density, I would say that these two are pretty similar in density. So that's what those two look like. And then just to compare, see one more maybe, just the all famous MAC 217. I would say that, I mean, I wouldn't really compare these to be anything alike, but they do, you know, this MAC 217 is pretty multifunctional, so it can also be used to blend colors on the eyelid and crease. But here's that in comparison. The main difference though, is if you look at it from their sides, the 217 has a pinched ferrule, thus creating more of that flat side, whereas this is circular all the way around and dome shape on top. So that's that. And then the next brush that I want to show you guys is the Tom Ford number 15 brush, which is called, let's see, number 15, which is the eyeliner and definer brush. So it's a tiny little brush. It looks like that. Here's it on the side. And like I said, it's the number 15. I don't know if you can even see that number, but there it is. And the box is here. I'd say that this is definitely multi-purpose as well. You can use it as an eyeliner, because I don't know if you can see, but how it goes to a very thin point. But yet it is, the other nice characteristic of it is that at the tip it's still rounded versus a square cut. So it's very nice it's a nice smudger for cake or even, what is it, not liquid, cake or gel liner. You can make a very, if you do it very light-handed, you can make a very thin, precise line. But then if you press with a little bit of more pressure, you can definitely smoke it or smudge it out. And then even I've used it on the side to create more of a shading effect. And also it's a really great eyebrow brush too, multi-purpose eyebrow brush too, if you got powder or even more of a waxy cream eyebrow base. You could use that to create the little lines, to smudge it. I've used that, and it creates a nice little curve because of the curved tip right there. But I really like this brush as well. So that again was the Tom Ford number 15. In terms of comparing, I guess in terms of shape, I would say that it is very much like the MAC 233. So here's the two side by side, except obviously this is more than twice its size in terms of width. But in terms of how it is shaped on top, it looks pretty much the same, in the sense that it has a slight curve at the edges. I would say the width is about the same. The width is about the same, and then the thickness, obviously the eyeliner, Tom Ford eyeliner definer brushes has a much more finer, smaller tip. But there's the two there. And then here is the Tom Ford number 11, which looks like this, which at first glance, I know that it looks very much like the MAC 217, and I'll just put that up here in a second to show you. But if you look at it, especially when it was, I guess, brand new, one side is a little bit more of at an incline, or what's the word? It's shorter on this. The hairs on one side is shorter, and then it kind of goes a little bit up to a curved point and back down. Again, this is the number 11, which is, the name of it is also the eyeshadow brush. Oh, just the eyeshadow brush. But this is definitely a multi-purpose brush, where just like the MAC 217, here they are side by side. So it's a little bit wider and a little taller and more densely packed. So that's what that looks like. Here's that on the side. And then on the points, you can see there, it's in terms of that, it actually looks pretty similar, except I can feel, when I feel the tops of the hairs on the Tom Ford, it is thicker, or like I said, more tightly packed. Now this is a great multi-purpose brush where you can lay down the color, pack it down like this, or to get crease color. And because of that slight point I was talking about, you can really get that right at the outer V, and even create, especially for an eye shape as mine, to create that much of it, whether it be a cut crease or a smoothed out, well blended shadow there, it works really well. So you can keep it on the side. Here's the pointy part, like I said, to create that outer V, or you can lay it on on vertically to really buff out and blend colors. This is one of the ones, if you had to choose one eyeshadow brush from this Tom Ford collection, I would start out with this, because you can do so much and you can do it right at the point and use it as a smudger, like I said, to pack down color, and then outer V, and then to use it on the side to really, smooth out and buff out the crease color, or even, you can see, like from the tip, definitely, it hugs the highlight part of right underneath the brow. And I've heard other people use it for other purposes, for concealer or anything like that. That probably would work well too. I just haven't done that myself, but I really do love this number 11 brush. In terms of comparing it to any other things, I do have one that I saw in my collection that it reminds me of it a little bit in terms of its shape and performance. It's the Hakuhodo J232. If I put it side by side, that's what it looks like. And then on its parallel side, there it is. And then over here at the top, I would say this, I say that it was comparable because the Hakuhodo also has the, actually it's a little bit even more exaggerated than the Tom Ford. It has that kind of cut at an angle, and yet it's still a little bit curved at the top, if you can see right there. So this works really well for what I was just talking about too, where you can pack down color. I've never really done that because I think it is a little bit more blunt at the very tip, at the very top. But I do use it the same way I did use the Tom Ford, where I would do it for the crease and to really blend it out. And then this is also great to use kind of on its top end to really, you know, blend out and diffuse the color that way. But yeah, I would say that these are pretty comparable. And this one's pretty dense too, except it's a little bit, has a little more, the Hakuhodo definitely has more give, whereas this is a little bit more, not stiff, because these are so soft. I would never call these stiff brushes, but you know what I mean? It has a little bit more strength at its base, I guess. So that's that. And then I think the last Hakuhodo brush, or not Haku, excuse me, Tom Ford brush I want to talk about is the number 12, which is called the eyeshadow contour brush. And this little guy looks like that. Here's it on its side, and here's it on the tip end. You can kind of see. This reminds me of also a smaller version. Let me compare it to the number 15. So obviously the number 12 is a little bit bigger. This is more, the number 15 is smaller and more of precision, and then this is the number 12, which reminds me more of the MAC 233 again. So, 239, excuse me, I've been saying it wrong. So 239. So that's what the 239 looks like right next to the Tom Ford. So there, you know, the 239 is obviously a little bit wider and taller. It feels thinner. This one is stubbier, the Tom Ford, yet it's definitely more dense, but yet the point that the hairs come into at the very end, it's very precise, even though it has a very fat base. I mean, comparatively, obviously. So that's what that looks like. Whereas the 239 is, I think the tool, you know, when you pack down precise color right on your lid, that works really well, and it still has, you know, a thin to medium base. Whereas this one, I would say, despite its tiny size, it has a very dense base. So it is like, again, not super stiff, but it is definitely more of a stronger base at for the hairs. So again, now this is good. I use this just like I use the 239, you know, to lay down precise color right at the root of my lashes or at the base. And I don't really use this for blending. This, you know, the 239 is pretty multifunctional as well. Except I just think that this is a smaller size, and this too has an interesting, I don't know if you can see, it does slant a little bit on one end, and I think again it adds to the multifunctional aspect of these Tom Ford brushes. But again, you know, it's great for placing precise lid color, smudging out, you know, if you're doing a smoky eye, to bring it way down here and then to bring it way over here and to wing it out, because it is still, although it like I said with a lot of the other Tom Ford brushes, the hair is super duper soft, yet because they're so packed so tightly and densely, they are very, what's the word? They're very, they perform very well because of the fact that they're not as fluffy. So I like that brush, and The only other one besides the $2.39 I could compare it to was maybe the Sephora Professional Smudge Brush, which looks like that. But as you can see, this one's much more squat, much more, the hair on top is very short. Here's it on the side, and then the width. There it is. This one, definitely, I can't use it to pack on color, obviously, but it is a good smudger brush, and I'd say in that way they perform pretty similarly if you're using the Tom Ford brush as a smudger. But then, like I said, this is great because you can use it for more than just smudging out eyeliner or eyeshadow. I think that's it. Were a couple of other, I guess just for fun, I'll just add this here. I have the Chanel No. 3 crease brush, and I brought that out here to just compare it to the Tom Ford No. 13. But as you can see, the Chanel is definitely shorter and a little bit more to a point. You can see that it's probably more of a precise crease applicator, whereas this is more of a blending out tool. And then another thing, actually, I brought this out to compare my Le Métier de Beauté eye crease brush. All of these, they're brushes which are handy, they're travel friendly, which is why the handle is really short. But I just want to compare the top there, the hair, and you can see that the La Métier Beauté crease brush is not as fluffier or large as the Tom Ford brush. But in terms of performance, I would say that they are very similar. Because I think it's because of the tops. This one doesn't really have a point, just like this. So this one really does work well to, buff out and to sweep color in the crease, just like this one. Despite the fact that they look totally different, I do think in terms of how they perform, these actually perform pretty comparatively. Okay, well, I think that's it. It was a lot, but I did want to share my thoughts on the Tom Ford brushes I have in my collection. So thanks for watching. Bye.